Hello, my name is Mushamisi Kahari. I'm a US citizen from Zimbabwe. I'm also working in Bali, Indonesia, teaching in person classes since August of this year. I'm an identical twin. Hopefully, I'll be able to get him to come to one of my classes to act as an extra conversational partner for some of my students. Been teaching English for at least 2 years now, I believe. I started with a place in Peru as well as volunteering, and I've expanded since then to in person classes. Some of the organizations I've worked with have been in the United States as well, in Chicago, in Portland, Oregon, in New York, and then I've also worked with places in Taiwan, Vietnam, and Bolivia, Russia, surprisingly enough, and then Japan as well. That means that I have sort of a very multicultural understanding how different students might struggle with different words. That doesn't mean I understand those cultures in depth, but it definitely means I can appreciate some of the challenges and strengths that those students come with. This is what I think makes my own class very interesting because I can start from a very traditional format to really trying to venture out and really kind of focus in on what the students' actual interests are. That can be challenging because it takes some time for a student to really open up and kind of let you know what their initial interests were. In terms of my teaching method, I really try to tap into not only my professional teaching background, but my own personal professional background in terms of I have a master's in intellectual property and a bachelor's from Virginia Commonwealth University in fine arts. And I had been working for a law firm for at least 15 plus years before I actually came to Bali, Indonesia. And that gives me some unique insights because I had to work with clients all over the world, but also I've worked in the United States, Zimbabwe, and online. I have had the fortune of working with a lot of people and learning new things. Like, for instance, with students from Japan, they may struggle with the L sounds of words. So, trying to not only keep a listen to that, but also trying to balance that with the idea of, okay, so are you trying to be a good communicator or are you trying to sound like a native speaker? And I think those are two very different objectives. So some of the things I try to do for my teens class is I try to mix things up. Most recently, we did tongue twisters so that they could learn the rhythm of English in terms of how it's spoken, but also really kind of do some careful listening to similar sounding words like watch and watch, like watch as in watch, and watch as in the physical watch, and other sounds like which and which, or weather and weather. I also try to integrate more technology into things with mixed results because it all depends at times on what technology is available and what the connection is like on the day. I believe we were doing an exercise where we were going over gerunds and infinitives. I had explained the concept, and the exercise was to name hobbies from A to Z. Then I mixed this with modals of obligations and have. And one of the students said that they like running, and that works perfectly as a gerund if you're saying it's a subject. And they said to run, I must have basket, or at least it sounded like that to me. And I paused and I asked, so you need baskets to run? And they're like, yes, yes, you need baskets. And I'm like, so I typed it in the chat and like, basket. They just carried on. Then one of the things I've learned to do is actually find images for a word as opposed to just the word itself, because a lot of students tend to self-translate. So if you can give them an image, it helps them see the word differently because they have a visual as opposed to just letters that they try to automatically translate into what they know. So I've seen that helps them a lot more with retention than using Google Translate word for word. And sometimes Google Translate can be problematic in that regard because sometimes the word they give the student might not be as accurate as maybe a visual that you can both agree on. So I typed the word basket into Google Image, and they pulled up images of baskets. I shared my screen, and they went, "Oh, no, 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 no! We meant shoes." And I was like, like sneakers. Yes. And I was like, oh. So the students were actually using French to describe running shoes, and I don't know French. So I was like perplexed as to how they were not responding to my feedback that you don't need a basket for running. And I was like, maybe it's a running picnic, or maybe it's a particular thing in Algeria. So thankfully, we all came to a mutual understanding, but that was a very funny moment and very memorable at the same time. I learned a lot about modulating how I speak or modeling my English, not to oversimplify it, but also to take the time to really understand that I need to speak slower. Found that with the tongue twisters, that helped a lot. With them being able to adjust the speed even just a little bit to about three quarters of its regular speed, they were able to hear the words a lot more easily and be able to repeat. Some still needed a visual aid for the tongue twisters, but I think that's kind of part of the process. I've also learned that I don't always understand why I use certain words, and that's sort of a wonderful thing about the process of teaching a language you use every day. Waking up and getting up, or lift and carry, and then me through my investigation and explaining what's the difference to them, I get a bit deeper understanding of the English language as well.